You woke up again, didn't you? 2 in the morning, 3, maybe half past midnight. You weren't thirsty, you didn't need the bathroom, you just woke. And the room felt wrong. And the strangest part is, it keeps happening. The same hours, the same feeling. And nobody has ever told you why. But King Solomon knew, and what I'm about to show you is not one man's theory from one ancient text. This is 3 separate religious traditions, spanning 2,000 years, 3 continents, 3 completely different theological systems, all converging on the exact same 3-hour window of the night. And all 3 say the same thing. Between midnight and 3 in the morning, something changes. The Jewish scholars who compiled the Talmud in Babylon, roughly 500 years after the birth of Christ, had a debate about the structure of the night. How many watches does the night have? It's a technical question, but the answer matters more than you might expect. Tractate Berakot, page 3a. Rabbi Eliezer taught, the night has 3 watches, not 4, 3. And each watch has a sign by which you can recognize it. First watch, the donkey brays. Second watch, the dogs howl. Third watch, the baby nurses and the woman converses with her husband. But here is the critical part. Rabbi Eliezer says, at each watch the Holy One, blessed be he, sits and roars like a lion. God roars during each watch. Why? The text does not explain, but it uses a word that is very specific. Roars, like an animal defending territory, like a lion warning something away. And then the text adds something that most people skip over when they read this passage. The danger of demons does exist at night. 3 watches, 3 roars, 3 defenses, and the third watch, midnight to 3 in the morning, is described as the most spiritually active. Now, 700 years later and 3,000 miles away in 7th century Arabia, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave his companions an instruction. Sahih Muslim, hadith 450a. Cover your vessels, seal your waterskins, lock your doors, extinguish your lamps. And then he added, there is a night in the year when pestilence descends. It does not pass any uncovered vessel without entering it. Another narration specifies, Shaitan cannot uncover what has been sealed. He cannot untie what has been tied. The Islamic tradition identifies the last third of the night, roughly 2 in the morning to just before dawn, as the most spiritually dangerous, but also, and this is where it becomes interesting, the most spiritually potent, because during these exact same hours, Allah descends to the lowest heaven and asks, who calls upon me that I may answer him? Who seeks forgiveness that I may forgive him? Same hours, maximum danger if you are passive, maximum opportunity if you engage. And now we go back, further back than the Talmud, further back than the Prophet, to the Testament of Solomon. The Testament of Solomon is a pseudepigraphal text written sometime between the 1st and 3rd centuries of the Common Era that claims to record Solomon's own account of how he built the temple. But unlike the sanitized biblical version, the Testament describes what actually happened. Solomon needed to cut stone without using iron tools. Iron was forbidden in sacred construction. It was the metal of war, and the temple was a house of peace. But precision stonework requires cutting, shaping, exactness. How do you build the most structurally ambitious building in the ancient world without touching it with iron? Solomon consulted a demon, not reluctantly, not as a desperate last resort, as a deliberate strategic decision. He summoned Asmodeus, the king of the demons, using a ring inscribed with the name of God. Asmodeus was bound, and he revealed what Solomon needed. But here is what matters for tonight. The Testament of Solomon in chapter 18 gives something no other ancient text gives. A catalogue, the 36 decan demons. The decan system comes from Egypt. Egyptian timekeepers divided the ecliptic, the path of the sun through the sky across the year, into 36 segments. Each segment is 10 degrees of arc, 10-degree divisions of the zodiac. They called them decans, and each decan ruled a specific hour of the night. The Greeks inherited this system. The Egyptians had been using it since at least the 21st century, before the Common Era, over 4,000 years ago. By the time Solomon was building his temple, the decan system was already ancient, and the Testament of Solomon took that astrological timekeeping system and did something extraordinary with it. It assigned a demon to each decan, not randomly, systematically. Chapter 18 lists them. 36 demons, each ruling a specific 10-degree segment of the zodiac, each active during the hour when that decan rises. The first decan demon is named Ruax, also called Rex in some manuscripts. The Testament calls him the Lord. He causes headaches, and the text gives you his banishing formula. If you know his name and invoke the angel Michael, commanding Michael, imprison Ruax, the headache lifts. Each demon in the list provides its own name, its own affliction, and its own counter-formula. This is not mythology. This is a manual. Now think about what this means. The Talmud says the third watch, midnight to 3 in the morning, is when God roars like a lion because the danger is real. Islamic tradition says the last third of the night is when Shaitan is most active and when divine intervention is most accessible. And the Testament of Solomon says, if you know which decan rules the hour, you know which demon is active. 3 traditions, 3 different centuries, 3 different empires, all identifying the exact same window. I need to tell you something I have never told in a video before. When I was in my late 20s, I was living in a flat in Bloomsbury. Small place, 3rd floor, no lift. I was working on my thesis at SOAS, ancient Near Eastern pseudepigrapher, and I kept waking up. 1:47 in the morning, 2:12, sometimes exactly at midnight. I would wake with my heart pounding, absolutely certain that something was in the room. I'm not the kind of person who believes in presences. I was trained in textual criticism, philology, source analysis. I was reading ancient demonological texts as academic material, not as spiritual manuals. But I kept waking. And one night, I remember this very clearly, I woke at 1:53, looked at the clock, and felt something I can only describe as dread. Not fear of an intruder, not anxiety, not a nightmare. Just wrongness. I sat up. I didn't know what to do, so I did the only thing I could think of. I said aloud, Michael, imprison the spirit of fear. It was absurd. I was a graduate student sitting upright in bed at 2 in the morning, speaking to an empty room. But I said it. And I went back to sleep. The headaches I'd been having for 2 weeks stopped the next day. I am not telling you this was supernatural. I am telling you what happened, and I am telling you that I had read the Testament of Solomon 6 months earlier, and I had not made the connection until that moment. What does this mean practically? Here is what 3 traditions, the Talmud, the Islamic hadith, and the Testament of Solomon, all agree on. 1. The night has structure. It is not one uniform block of darkness. It has watches, divisions, sections where different forces are active. 2. The third watch, midnight to 3 in the morning, is the most spiritually active. Not the most dangerous necessarily, the most active. If you are passive, it is dangerous. If you engage, it is powerful. 3. You are not powerless. The Talmud says God sits and watches during each watch. Islamic tradition says Allah descends and asks who needs him. The Testament says, if you know the demon's name, you can speak the angel's name and banish it. You are not abandoned. You are not at the mercy of forces you cannot see, but you have to know the hours, and you have to know the formula. King David knew this. Psalm 119, verse 62. At midnight, I rise to give you thanks for your righteous judgments. David didn't wake at midnight because he was an insomniac. He set an intention. He positioned himself at the threshold of the third watch. He knew what the rabbis would later teach. He knew what the prophet would later confirm. The third watch is not a time to sleep through. It is a time to engage. Psalm 119, verse 148. My eyes anticipate the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your word. Anticipate. David was waiting for them, watching for them, because he understood what most of us have forgotten. The night is not neutral. The Roman Empire divided the night into 4 watches: evening, 6 to 9 in the evening; midnight, 9 to midnight; rooster crow, midnight to 3 in the morning; morning, 3 to 6. The rooster crow watch is the third watch. It is the watch when Jesus was betrayed. Peter denied Christ 3 times during the rooster crow watch. And in the Gospels, the rooster crows at the end of that watch, just before dawn, as a marker that the third watch has ended. The Gospel writers understood the structure of the night. If you wake between midnight and 3 in the morning, this is what Solomon's tradition would tell you to do. 1. Recognize the watch. You are not awake by accident. You are awake during the third watch. The watch that 3 religious traditions identified as the most spiritually active window of the night. 2. Do not panic. Do not scroll. The Talmud is explicit. God is watching during this watch. You are not abandoned. Something is happening, but you are not alone. Do not reach for your phone. Do not break the sacred attention. Sit upright. Breathe. 3. Speak the counter formula. The Testament of Solomon teaches that each demon has a banishing formula. If you don't know the specific decan demon for your hour, use the universal Solomonic formula. Michael, imprison the affliction. Headache. Michael, imprison ruax. Anxiety. Michael, imprison the spirit of fear. Paralysis. Michael, imprison the night terror. Speak it aloud. The Testament records that the demons fled when Solomon spoke their names. Sound matters. Now, I want to address something that some of you are thinking. This sounds like superstition. This sounds like medieval demonology that we have moved beyond. Maybe. But consider this. The Talmudic scholars were not primitive. They were some of the most rigorous legal minds in history. The Islamic jurists who transmitted these hadith were trained in chains of narration so exacting that modern historians still use their standards. The Testament of Solomon, whatever its theological status, preserved a system of spiritual taxonomy that was taken seriously for over 1,000 years. And all 3 converge on the same thing, not vaguely. Precisely midnight to 3 in the morning. That is either an extraordinary coincidence, or they were all observing the same phenomenon. I will tell you what I think. I think the ancient world understood something about the structure of time that we have lost, not because they were more superstitious, because they were paying closer attention. They didn't have electric lights. They didn't have alarm clocks. They didn't have the ability to override the natural rhythms of the night. They lived inside those rhythms. And what they observed, across cultures, across centuries, across continents, was that the night is not uniform. It has watches. It has hours. It has periods when the boundary between the seen and unseen becomes thinner. And the third watch is one of those periods. The practical question is this. If you wake during the third watch, what do you do? Do you treat it as insomnia and try to force yourself back to sleep? Or do you recognize it for what Solomon, David, the Talmud sages, and the prophet all recognized it as? A threshold moment. A moment when something is asking for your attention, not to frighten you, but to see whether you will engage. I want to end with something from the Talmud that I find both terrifying and comforting at the same time. Traktat Berakot, page 43b. 1 person walking alone at night, a demon can harm him. 2 people walking together, the demon appears but does no harm. 3 people walking together, the demon does not appear. What does this mean? It means isolation is vulnerability. It means numbers matter, presence matters, connection matters. If you are alone in the third watch, you are vulnerable. If you are conscious and intentional and connected to something beyond yourself, the danger recedes. The demon can harm 1 person. It can appear to 2 but not harm them. It cannot even appear to 3. What is the third presence? The text does not say. But I think you know tonight. If you wake at 2 in the morning, you will know what is happening. You are in the third watch. God is watching, according to the Talmud. Allah is asking who needs him, according to the hadith. The decan demons are active, according to the Testament. But you are not powerless. You know the hours now. You know the formula. Speak it if you need it. Michael, imprison fear and see what happens. What you do with this is entirely your choice. But you cannot say after tonight that you didn't know.